Alright, boys and girls, we're gonna do a piece of heat treat from my stack of heat treat down there. Now this is a dicey piece. Yeah. So that's why I'm using it. How is it dicey? I have no idea what's in it. Could be full of stuff or all cracked. Could be a bunch of crackiola pudding. I got a lot of this to knock down into bifaces tonight. Yeah. Not many points to sell at the auction this time around. I got a space heater going right now. But it's kind of quiet. I mean, it's not a noisy space heater. It's a good one. But we'll see how it goes. It's in the 30s right now while I'm napping. It's like 38 degrees or something in the shop. I'm exposed to the air. I've got shutters instead of windows, so the air just passes right through this little shop I got. When I got that space heater right there, it warms up my legs, which is usually sufficient to keep going. Alright. So, what am I going to make? I got something in mind. We'll see. I'm not going to tell you yet because I might change my mind. Or I might have change of plans. Yeah, change of plans. Might be necessary to change the plans. So what can you learn from this little exercise in napping some of these dicey heat treats? It's mostly damage control. How to deal with defects. It's mainly these nasty cracks. Yeah. I can't hit this too hard because that crack will open up. But sometimes you really gotta hit it hard to get through all that nasty stuff. That was good. That was better than I thought. It's got a hole in it. Dang it. Yeah. Not that it mattered too much. I'm probably going to lose a lot of this edge because of that crack. But we'll see. We'll nap it like there's no crack right now. Or try to anyway. Another crack in there somewhere? I don't know. Why did that tip pop off so easily? I don't like it. I was watching some of my older videos today. Earlier today I was watching some of my older videos. I got fat fingers in my older videos. Yeah. Inflammation. That's the result of inflammation due to poor diet. Yep, I used to be Mr. Wheat and Sugar. Wheat and sugar were my staples. Pastries all the time. In moderation, of course. Yeah. Did not do me any good. Mr. Breads and cereals. I found out that all of that stuff made me bloated and inflamed. So now my hands and fingers look different. And it's not due to age, it's due to change in diet. There's some of it due to age, like the knuckle. The knuckles change a little bit, and the skin gets wrinkly. But this wrinkly stuff is from the cold sometimes too. But anyway, yeah, it's mainly because of change in diet. I'm looking at my old videos going, dang, did that hurt? Was I in pain from all the inflammation? I'm trying to remember. I'm pretty much pain-free now, except for my posture. I'm always hunched over. But yeah, I was in pain back then a little bit. Constantly. Just a little bit. A nagging pain. All over. You know, like you've been working out. But I was not working out that much. But I figured that was normal. Yeah. It's not normal. I had brain fog all the time. I figured that was normal, just stress, you know, always stressed. Got little kids and the job is kind of stressful. Always trying to solve problems on the job. Thought it was normal. It's not normal. Brain fog is not normal. And what is brain fog anyway? It's like you can't remember stuff. It's like what was I thinking about? What was I doing? What was I looking for? Or not ability to think clearly. Why did I do that? That was kind of stupid. You know, you do stuff as you're working, you know, you get... So why did I do this thing first? I should have done the other thing first. It messes with your mathematical ability, I suppose. The ability to organize and prioritize. I still have that issue where I can't prioritize as well as I should be prioritizing. But it's not as bad as it was. Yeah. It was bad because I had to be reminded constantly. Did you do this? Did you do that? I forgot. I actually did forget. But I guess I wouldn't say I forgot, because that would be bad. That would look bad, so I would say stuff like, oh, I had to do this other thing first. Okay. I suppose that's what I would do, because I don't know. It really affects the job when you can't think. Get this little excuses. I don't have those issues as much anymore. What did I change my diet to? Somebody tell them. Somebody tell them. Or I'll just tell you. I eat mostly meat and eggs these days. That's it. Meat and eggs. And yeah, I take vitamin C sometimes. Just out of fear that today's meat and eggs are not very nutritious. Meat has vitamin C. How do I know this? Well, back in the day when sailors got scurvy, because all they brought with them was bread on the boats. They started switching over to eating meat. I don't know when it was, but when they came to the New World, pemmican was very popular. Pemmican, dried meat, and a lot of Indian tribes were surviving on nothing but pemmican during the winter. Come on, I gotta turn that lamp off. And they were wondering, how can you survive only on meat? So they tried it and they found out that you can survive only on meat. As long as the animals were fed well. Wild animals, you don't have to worry too much about that. They feed themselves pretty well. But if you have domesticated animals, you got to make sure they get the right nutrition, or they're going to be low in vitamin C and other things. So these days, there's so many shortcuts taken in industrial farming that the meat is low quality. So just out of precaution, I take vitamin C. But yeah, just meat and eggs. Of course, I'll have coffee, but I water it down and I don't have sugar in my coffee. I was having creamer, sugar-free creamer in my coffee all through the holidays. And I think that adds about maybe 15 grams of total sugar in my diet, because I would have more than 1 cup of coffee per day, of course. Yeah, and just with the 10 to 15 grams of 10 to 15 grams of sugar type carbohydrates, because there are still carbohydrates in a lot of these sugar-free coffee creamers. I gained almost 10 pounds just on that. Just because I was adding coffee creamer to my coffee. 10 pounds over a period of about 2 months. That adds up if you do it the whole year. So yeah, just watered down coffee. It tastes a little bitter, but you put enough water in it and it's not too bitter. It ends up being like a tea. Yeah. You might say, well, that's just too weak for me. I need strong coffee. My bones need the caffeine. I got slow bones. Yeah, I know what you mean. I got slow bones too. My bones slow me down. But I'll take caffeine pills if I feel like I really need to. They're mostly for driving, but like today I was really dragging. So I took half a caffeine pill. I got like these 200 milligram caffeine pills. I break them in half, so it's only got like 100 milligrams. And that'll last me 4 to 6 hours, as long as I'm not taking them too often. Anyway, I'm weird. As soon as I took the caffeine, I fell asleep. I took a nap because I just fell asleep. I was falling asleep sitting down, so I took a nap right through the caffeine. Slept well, yeah. I don't know if I'm one of those people that can sleep right through the caffeine. The caffeine for me is a mood enhancer. It really doesn't give me energy. It just changes my mood from blah to, all right, we can do something now. Gets rid of the blah. Yes, that's why I like heat treat. Oh, so nice. See that? Did you miss it? You missed the setup? You missed it, but that's why I like heat treat. One of the reasons. I've said before, it doesn't really affect too much on the percussion, because you can do percussion without heat treating it pretty easily. But it's so nice when you can do that without too much effort. Now, yeah, I'm still going to make a point out of this. Yeah. I was going to say, well, now I can just offer it as a biface for sale in the auction. But I promised I'd do a point, so I do a point. Yeah. All right, so that's the stage where I would put it aside and say it's good for laters. Good for laters. Yep, have it available. And yeah, I do kind of sort of bury stuff in my own yard. One of the reasons why it's advantageous these days to bury it is to keep it out of the way of your pets without, you know, having to store this stuff inside. Stone takes up a lot of space. It'd be better just to stash it in the yard. Yeah, so I bury it. The dogs don't step on the sharp edges. And I think that was one of the reasons back in the day as well. You bury it to keep it safe and also to keep yourself safe from it. You know, there was theft, a lot of theft back in the day, so you bury it to prevent theft. And you know, when you're ready, you can unbury it. Dig it up. It's very convenient. And if you bury it deep enough, you're below the frost line. So if your stone is less than perfect, you don't have to worry about the frost cracking apart pieces of your stone. You can wait till you try to knap it to get rid of the cracks. Yep. Just like this one. If I were to bury this in a shallow little pit, it might get worse as far as the cracks go. I can bury it kind of deep and it'll be below the frost line, hopefully. Yeah. I don't know, that crack, it looks pretty bad. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, people will ask me, I bring up the subject of burying these things, and people will ask me, what is the significance of burying it? Why do you do it? You mentioned you bury it, but why? Oh, I mention it because that's what they used to do. Supposedly, there's good evidence that these things were buried in caches. And I'll give you my hypotheses on why they would bury it back in the day. You know, they would, just for safekeeping, they would finish that little stage, and they say, okay, it's good enough for now. I can move on to the next work piece and make a biface and bury it and keep doing it, and they'll have a stash of bifaces. That's one of the reasons why they would do it. Another one is just to keep the stone edges away from people so they don't step on them and get all cut up by accident. And so they're not playing with the flakes and chips. You know, little kids, they'll get into everything. They don't know. And before you know it, they'll just be lifting up big bifaces and then dropping it on their toes, and it turns into a nightmare. Speaking of toes, these are steel toe. Yeah. The previous shoes I was wearing were just regulars, not steel toe. And I was looking through the yard and stuff. I ended up dropping a couple of things on my toe. Wasn't too bad, right? But I said, you know what? In winter, the steel toe also helps me keep my toes warmer. I don't know why that is, but that's what it does. So I said, I can kill two birds with one stone. It's getting cold, and I'm dropping stones on my feet, on my toes. So I'm going to get steel toe. I'm very, very cautious about my feet when I'm napping. I never, ever consider going barefoot while napping. No. It's just crazy. Crazy. I don't know why. But some guys like doing that. I suppose it's liberating to be barefoot all the time. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just gonna stick with my steel toes. I think I'm gonna buy steel toe from now on. I used to wear them all the time on the job. So I'd be walking around the shops, the machine shops and stuff. Never had an issue with anything dropping on my toes while I was on the job, luckily. But yeah, all my stuff, it was a regulation somewhere for our shops. Gotta wear steel toes. Not all the jobs I was at had that requirement, but the last one I was did, and a couple of them before that required it. Anyway, I'm choosing just anything to ramble about. Yeah, this is getting a little narrow, but it's not too bad. But I can't tell if that's a step fracture or just the change in color in the stone. I gotta clean up this surface so it doesn't look nasty. I mentioned in the previous video that I'm cleaning up my points a little bit too well. Yeah. I gotta leave a little bit of crud. I start cleaning them up too well. They don't look artistic. They look mechanical. Yeah, like a machine made them. You know, I don't care about using modern tools for making these things, but if they start looking like they're made from made by machines, that's a little bit too far. I don't want to go that far. I don't want it to look like it's made by machine. Yeah, I'm using a spatula tool, my new spatula tool. I'm testing it out. Well, I know how it works, right? I know how these things work. I'm just using it because I like using it. I shouldn't be, because I should just stick with it as a notcher so I don't wear it down to nothing before I get a chance to use it again. But oh well. The spatula tools are good for installing short flakes without step fracturing. It's good for beveling, which is kind of what I'm doing. So I want to set up the edge to run nice flakes to clean up the face, to make it a little bit more machine looking, but not too much machine made looking. I do want to clean up the surface a little bit, but only for you guys. I don't really care all that much. I think I told you a story one time where I made a replica of a point, and it was very crude. You know, it took me 2 hours to make it look like I made it in 15 minutes. And I was at a nap in, and someone came up and said, "Did you make that one?" I said, "Yeah." He looked at me like, he looked at me but didn't say anything, but he looked at the thing and he looked at me, and I could just tell that he thought I had a senior moment. I must have been like, I must have woken up on the wrong side of the bed and hadn't had my coffee yet. Because it was the weirdest thing he's ever seen, it seemed like. I thought it was beautiful, but no. Sometimes those things just look terrible, right? If you tell them it's real, then yeah, it's beautiful. But if you tell them it's a modern reproduction, it looks ugly. So you can't make them exact if you want people to buy them or think you know what you're doing. You got to make them look a little bit more refined. Yeah. Okay, so where is this going? I just need to clean up the surface, but yeah, I don't know. I had to work on the stem too, but I'm wondering if I should clean it up a little first and then work on the stem. It's a little bit thick here. If I start hitting on the stem, which I am going to, do I want it thinner here or thicker? If it's too thick, it'll snap there. I don't know. I don't think it's too thick, so let me just take a chance and see if I can shoot in a thinning flake. Yeah, it's not too bad. Thinning flake. Yeah. I'm going to shoot in a thinning flake from the other side too. Oh yes. Can't grind it too much. It's tempting. Can't grind it too much, because if you do, you know what happens. Grind it too much and it pulls too much and you snap it. How do you know when you grind it too much? You don't till you snap it. I've snapped plenty, that's how I know. Yeah, that's how I know. When you snap plenty, that's how you know. Gotta snap some. I know there are some guys out there that are extremely naturally talented. They don't snap hardly any of these. I'm not talking to you guys. Nope. Not talking to you. Most of us snap things like crazy. It's always snappiola pudding. Always. What you got for dinner tonight? Snappiola pudding. Yeah. Snapping everything tonight. Where do I get that from? Where do I get the snappiola? That kind of reminds me of tapioca pudding. Yeah. Not something that I normally have for for dessert. You know, you don't want snaps. I don't want tapioca. I guess that's where that comes from. I don't know. That just sounds funny. Say snapiola pudding. Yeah. You might be saying, well, this is not a comedy channel. What you doing, man? This is a napping channel. Totally serious. If you're not serious, you ain't napping. Yeah. I know sometimes that's what they say. I don't hear that often. And I don't get the criticisms that often. I think in the previous video I said that I get criticisms, or I don't get criticisms, but when I do, it's blah blah blah. I do get criticisms. I don't get them that often, is what I mean to say. I don't get criticisms that often, but when I do, it's pretty loud. So you tend to remember those, you know, especially if you have the mindset where you need to pay attention to the criticism, because you can advance yourself through criticism. So you pay attention if you're of that mindset. So I pay attention to the criticisms. I try to advance myself through that type of criticism. Can be useful, yeah. Sometimes it's not useful, because what they want to do is just make you feel bad. Yeah, just want to make you feel bad. It's not really directed toward helping you achieve a goal. What's funny is you can get rid of trolls just by letting them know that if they do some certain thing, it's actually helping you. They don't want to help you. If they get the impression or they realize that they're helping you with their trolling, it'll immediately stop. Whether it adds to your popularity or it increases your views because of the controversy, or people want to read the comments because they just want to see who's fussing, they'll stop doing it. Yeah. If they think it benefits you, they will not do it. Nope. They will not. So in many cases, you don't even need to block them. You just let them know that when they're doing what they're doing, that helps you. That gets rid of them. In most cases. And of course, I don't block people because I like them to self-incriminate. I like it when they self-incriminate, because then everyone gets to see what they're doing. They want to be fools? Please, leave a comment so everyone can see who you are. You want to say some weird stuff? Please, leave a comment so people can see the weird stuff that you're saying. Are you correct sometimes? Oh, yes. Do I receive criticism that is correct sometimes? Or, yeah, I sure do. There's some smarty pants out there, smarter than I am. Oh, yes. All right, so here we go. A little bit more cleanup, and I'm done with the top part of the blade. I don't want to mess with that too much, because then it leads to step fractures where I don't want them. Don't want step fractures near the tip. If I mess with these areas that look like they're a little bit lumpy, they will become a lot bit lumpy if I do too much. Okay, so where are we going? Where are we going? This is the next stage. This is where it gets sweaty. This next stage is the sweat stage. The other stage where you would bury it, take it out, and get it to this stage. I don't know what they call that, but after this stage is when it starts getting stressful and sweaty. Yeah. This is the sweat stage. When you're trying to finish it up. And this in particular because it's heat treated. Now, if it's not heat treated, sometimes it holds together better, but then you got to hit it harder so it still is snap in half-ish. It can still snap in half. Yeah, you can't get away from it entirely. That snap in half thing that makes your life miserable. Cannot get away from it entirely. All you can try to do is minimize it. One of the ways to minimize it that no one wants to hear is to keep it thick. No one wants to hear that though. No. Anything but that. They want to hear about all the supports, the sequence of flaking. What sequence can you flake it in to minimize the snappage? What tools can you use? What materials are best for not snapping it? What techniques are best for not snapping it? Blah blah blah. They don't want to hear that. Keep it thick. No, no, no. Thin. In case I run short of money, I spent too much money on eggs, so I gotta sell one of my points, and I don't want it to be thick because I only get like $5. I want to get $50 so I can buy more eggs. I know, I get it. Anything but thick points. That's what they asked me. Can you show me how to keep it from breaking except for keeping it thick? Well, then you just let all the air out of the tires when you said that. That's the best way. Keep it from snapping. Yeah, and you wonder why you're snapping everything. It's too thin. You're making them too thin. If you're snapping everything, you're making them too thin for your level of skill. Yeah. But it doesn't matter. You can just continue to do it. It's fine. It's not insanity. You keep doing it and keep doing it. Eventually you won't snap them anymore and you'll be able to get thin points. It's okay. It's alright. You can go for the thinness from right off the bat and just do nothing but thin, thin, thin. Everything is thin. It doesn't matter what you do, what else you do. Some guys, they don't really care what else they're doing. They just want to go straight for the thin. And then they'll worry about everything else. Which is kind of a good strategy because once you get it thin, you can put these notches, you can put the final shape. You can even up the symmetry. Once you got the thin thing down, everything else is easy. Easy peasy. Yeah, the sharpening, the symmetry, notching. You can go straight for the thinning. It's going to take you a while. You're going to get kind of bored sometimes by focusing on nothing but the thinning. But nothing says you can't nap that way. The way I recommend you doing it is just not biting off more than you can chew. Do a little bit of everything. Keep your preforms and all your finish points a little bit on the thick side. Keep your notches a little bit on the wide side. Keep everything not too long. Keep your points on the short side, 4 inches and under. And then you can start to tweak everything in advance from there. Once you've got, the ability to create a 4-inch point with notches that are relatively, or average width, not too narrow, notches that are not too narrow. And the thickness ratio, maybe 4:1 instead of 5:1. You start tweaking. That's how I recommend you do it. But that's just me. All right. What did I do in the beginning? I don't know. What did I do in the beginning? I didn't have all that much trouble with thinning. I had a lot of trouble with step fracturing. Step fracturing. Everything was step fracturing. That's what would bug me the most. I wasn't snapping all that many, and I wasn't having too much trouble with thinning. It was the step fractures that were driving me completely up the wall. Yeah. So I had to deal with that specifically for over a year. Just do nothing but focus on how to not get step fracturing. Like in the past, these would be so difficult for me. I could not get any flakes to feather out. They would just step right in the middle. I figured out it was the edge preparation. Yeah. I still don't prepare the edge perfectly, but it's a lot better than when I started. I still get the step fractures, but they don't bug me as much as they used to. Yeah. They don't bug me nearly as much as they used to. Now see that line of percussion flakes? It looks like a line of pressure flakes, but it was just a fast line of percussion flakes, and I think they used to do those back in the day. Oh yes, just quick tapping, get a line of flakes. They look like pressure flakes, but they're not, as you can see, obviously. Ooh, that one zinged right by my right eye. That flake. Why did they go backwards sometimes? I think they bounce off the glove. I mean, it's got to be something like that. Right? Something is making them do that. Something. Yeah, I'll clean that up in a little bit. Yeah. You got a bunch of little step cruds. Whatever. Dum dee dum dee dum. Yeah, I'm spending a long time on this, making it look like I only spent 20 minutes on it. I'm trying to bold flake the edge. Sometimes I can do it. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I like bold flaking the edge instead of a lot of little minute flakes. Why? Because I've seen artifacts that way and I like the look. Did they care about the look back in the day? No, I think it just gets that way. The more you nap, the less flakes you need to remove. The more practice you have, the less flakes you need to remove to get what you want. So if I were to nap a bunch of these, eventually it would look like I'm purposely just using bold flakes cosmetically. But when you get used to making a certain point, these bold flakes just naturally happen because you don't need to spend so much time napping. You just pow, 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 and then that's it. It's already 47 minutes. Yeah. Well, actually, it's just taking me a lot longer than I thought it was going to take. I'm worried about snapping. I don't want to snap this. That would be a nightmare. Because it's such a nice piece, I could have offered it just as a biface in the auction. And it would fetch a good price. And then it would fetch a good price as a point. So if I were to snap it, it would be highly disappointing. It would be disappointing. It wouldn't be a point. It would be disappointing. It's funny how that word disappointing. Where did disappointing come from? I failed to make a point. The technique disappointed. I was disappointed by my disappointment because I failed to make a point. Alright, what am I talking about? Let's see, what am I going to do now? I'm just going to pressure flake the end of it. Let's see, where is my... There it is. Talking to myself over here, I can't find my new spatula tool that I like so much. Yeah, it makes it look like I'm using a big tool for these big flakes. Because they want to minimize the number of flakes I'm using. So use a wide spatula tool. Hopefully it'll minimize the number of flakes. Minimize the serrated edge look. I don't think these had serrated edges at all. Yeah, I was looking at these the other day. I got another book in the mail. It's very old. It's from the 60s. It has these in the book. Alright, I'm going to stop messing with it here. As soon as I take off that serrated edge look. As soon as I remove the serrated edge look. The spatula tool is good for removing the serrated edges. If that's not what you want. Why would you not want a serrated edge? Well, if you don't want little bits of stone in your food, you take off the serrated edge. Yeah. I just messed it up. Okay. Yeah, you know, you can have a serrated edge to kill your food, but you don't want a serrated edge on a knife very often because you'll end up with little chips in the food because those serrations break off easily. You might say, well, that gets in your food if you shoot something. Yeah, but you can cut away that stuff or just shoot them in the neck. And you won't have to worry too much about having those little serration shards in your vital organs of the meat. You know, the organ meats are extremely nutritious. You don't want to mess those up with shards of stone. It still looks like I pecked the edge. I can't get away from that. Yeah. I don't want to drive in any more flakes. It's already too thin to be messing with it. I don't know if this is... I don't even know if the size range is correct for this type of point. I'm just hoping it is. Yep. I have a feeling this is a little bit too large for this type of point. Now this type of point exists, right? But they don't really know how old it is. They don't know if all the points that look like this are this type. Some of these might be other point types that had barbs on both sides. It just got resharpened on one side, so it got lopsided. Yeah. Anyway, I think most of them are 3 inches and under, if I remember correctly. And I don't know if these, I don't think the stems are ground down. I kind of do want to take one more flake, but I shouldn't. Yeah, I shouldn't. But it's bugging me. It's bugging me. Just leave me alone. Hold on. Yeah. That was bugging me, so now it doesn't bug me no more. Okay. You might ask me, you happy now? And I'll say, yeah, I'm happy now. I'm happy now. Even though this might not be right. Okay, so there you go. Let's see. Yeah, this is no longer a valid point type. They think it's a hoax, which is a very good possibility. This type of point, the Sandia points, are considered to be not a official type, I guess, anymore, and it might even be a hoax, or it was a hoax in the past. Just gathering a bunch of lopsided looking points that might have had 2 barbs, but they got resharpened down to just 1 from different areas of the country and then grouped together as one type within one site, you know, on purpose to fool people. But anyway, there are real artifacts that look like this, so that's why I made one. There are real artifacts that look like this. Okay, so there you go. Sandia point out of heat treat. I don't know if they were made from heat treat, but I like the look of it. It can be easily made into a knife, or it can be used as a spear point or a projectile point. All right, that's it.